Ladies and gentlemen, letting someone go is not just an emotional act, it is a deeply spiritual decision that can trigger a profound spiritual awakening. When you release someone from your life, especially someone you were emotionally invested in, you begin to see yourself, your needs, and your truth more clearly. This clarity is the first spark of awakening. It's in the silence that follows a goodbye that your soul finally has space to speak. The constant noise of attachment, expectation, and emotional dependency begins to fade, allowing the voice of your higher self to emerge with wisdom and clarity. Spiritual awakening doesn't always begin with light and joy. It often starts with pain. The pain of letting go acts as a catalyst. It shakes your comfort zone, forces you to question your beliefs, and makes you face emotions you may have buried for years. This confrontation is not easy, but it is necessary. Growth is never born from stagnation. It comes from friction, from discomfort. When you let someone go, especially if they were toxic or no longer aligned with your journey, the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor, even if you don't see it right away. You start recognizing patterns. You begin to understand why you were holding on in the first place. Was it love or was it fear? Was it loyalty or was it habit? This awareness is part of your awakening. The ego starts to lose its grip as the soul takes center stage. You realize that your worth is not tied to being needed by someone else. You no longer crave validation through others. Instead, you start validating your own emotions, needs, and dreams. You become conscious of your energy and how it has been entangled with someone else's in ways that may have drained or distracted you from your true purpose. Letting go spiritually is not just about removing someone physically from your life. It's about energetically detaching. It's about severing cords of guilt, shame, fear, or obligation that kept you anchored to them. This process clears your energetic field, making space for new opportunities, deeper connections, and a higher alignment with your soul's mission. You may find yourself more in tune with nature, intuition, or spiritual practices like meditation and journaling. These aren't just rituals. They become lifelines, helping you navigate the shift from dependence to divine independence. During this time, you may also experience solitude, not as loneliness, but as sacred stillness. This quiet space becomes fertile ground for transformation. You begin to feel your emotions instead of escaping them. You allow yourself to grieve, to cry, to be vulnerable, but also to rebuild. You begin to trust that the universe is not punishing you but preparing you. With every breath, you reclaim parts of yourself that were lost in the relationship, and slowly you begin to realize that letting go was not an ending but a beginning. Spiritual awakening after letting someone go also brings compassion. You start to see that both of you were teachers for each other, that even the pain served a purpose. You send them love, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Because holding on to anger or resentment only weighs you down. You forgive, not to excuse their actions, but to set yourself free. Your soul knows that freedom is the highest form of love, both for yourself and for the one you're releasing. Eventually, a new sense of peace settles in. Not because life is perfect, but because you've aligned with your truth. You start making choices based on self-respect and intuition instead of fear or codependency. This is the essence of a spiritual awakening, when you no longer operate from the wounds of the past, but from the wisdom they've given you. Letting someone go becomes less about loss and more about reclaiming your power. It's not just something you do, it's something you become. And in that transformation, you rise. Letting someone go is never easy, but on a spiritual level, it opens the door to emotional release, one of the most transformative aspects of personal growth. Emotional release is not simply crying or expressing sadness. It is a full-body, soul-deep surrender of pent-up energy, suppressed emotions, and unresolved wounds that you've carried, often unknowingly, for far too long. When you decide to let someone go, especially someone who once held a significant place in your heart, your spirit begins to loosen the grip of emotional baggage, allowing the healing process to begin in earnest. Spiritually, relationships form energetic bonds. These bonds, especially those built on intense emotion, can stay with us long after the physical connection ends. The emotional release that follows letting someone go is the body's way of untying those energetic threads. It's a sacred purge, a spiritual cleansing. In those moments when the tears come unexpectedly, or the silence feels both heavy and liberating. Your soul is processing not just loss, but liberation. You are making space for peace, for renewal, and for deeper alignment with your authentic self. Often, we suppress how we feel in an attempt to keep relationships intact. We tolerate, justify, or silence our discomfort. But the moment we choose to walk away, the walls that held all that emotion begin to break. Grief, anger, guilt, love, confusion. They all rise to the surface. This may feel overwhelming, but it's actually a sign that healing is underway. Emotional release is how your inner world recalibrates. It's how your spirit detoxes from everything that no longer serves your growth. And though it can be intense, it's also necessary. During this phase, you may experience a roller coaster of emotions. One moment you feel strong and free, the next you feel lost and broken. This isn't regression, it's release. Each wave of emotion is a layer being peeled back, a wound being seen, a truth being acknowledged. Your soul is learning how to feel without fear, how to express without shame, and how to let go without clinging. This is spiritual maturity in motion, choosing truth over comfort, peace over attachment, and self-love over emotional dependency. Emotional release also reconnects you with your inner child, the part of you that may have felt abandoned, unloved, or unworthy in the relationship. By feeling your emotions fully, you are giving that inner child the attention, voice, and validation it never had. You tell yourself, through each tear and each sigh, "Here you, I see you, you matter." And in doing so, you begin to reparent yourself with love, kindness, and understanding. This emotional nurturing creates a solid foundation for future relationships, built not from wounds but from wholeness. The beauty of emotional release lies in its cleansing power. When you let go of someone, and you truly allow yourself to feel everything that comes with it, you clear emotional space within you. This space is sacred. It allows new insights to arise. You begin to remember who you are outside of the relationship. You rediscover dreams, passions, and parts of yourself that were dimmed or ignored. You create emotional availability not just for someone new, but for yourself, for your own needs, boundaries, and joys. Eventually, the emotional storms subside. What remains is a calmer, wiser, more grounded version of yourself. You're not empty. You're spacious. You're not broken, you're open. You've released the heaviness that blocked your intuition and dimmed your light. In its place is clarity, self-trust, and a deep inner knowing that letting go was not a failure, but a necessary passage into greater freedom and spiritual alignment. Emotional release is the soul's way of saying, "You've held on long enough. It's time to breathe again." And when you finally exhale, when you truly let it all go, you don't just move on, you rise. When you decide to let someone go, you initiate a profound shift in your spiritual landscape, one that invites healing energy into your life in powerful and transformative ways. This healing energy is not simply an abstract or mystical force. It is the vibrational reset that takes place when you release emotional attachments, unprocessed pain, and stagnant energies that were tied to that person. Letting go becomes a sacred act of reclaiming your energy and redirecting it inward, toward your own restoration, balance, and spiritual renewal. Spiritually, we are energetic beings. Every connection we form creates energetic cords, channels through which emotions, intentions, and thoughts are exchanged. When a relationship becomes toxic, unbalanced, or no longer aligned with our growth, those cords can begin to drain us rather than nourish us. Deciding to let someone go is like cutting those cords, freeing your spiritual body from being anchored in an emotional past. Once those ties are released, the healing energy begins to flow back into the spaces that were once occupied by confusion, sadness, or emotional dependency. The first wave of healing energy often manifests as stillness. This quiet may feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable at first, but it is deeply healing. In the absence of emotional chaos or constant giving, you start to feel your own essence again. Your body and soul begin to rest. This rest is not passive. It's restorative. It is during this time that your nervous system recalibrates, your heart begins to mend, and your intuition gets louder. The spiritual silence after letting go is where clarity is born, and from that clarity, a new chapter begins to write itself. As healing energy continues to settle within you, you may find yourself reconnecting with your sense of self. You start to feel lighter, more present, more aware of your own needs and desires. Old emotional wounds, especially those linked to abandonment, rejection, or unworthiness, begin to surface, not to harm you, but to be seen, understood, and released for good. Healing energy supports this process gently, allowing you to move through pain with compassion instead of judgment. This energy also nurtures self-forgiveness. Many people struggle with guilt after letting someone go. Guilt for giving up, for not holding on longer, or for choosing themselves. But healing energy reminds you that choosing your well-being is never selfish. It's necessary. It whispers to your soul that growth sometimes requires separation, and that endings can be beginnings in disguise. With each moment of acceptance and self-compassion, your spiritual vibration rises, drawing in more peace and balance. One of the most beautiful aspects of healing energy is that it realigns you with love. Not necessarily romantic love, but divine love, self-love, and universal connection. You begin to feel supported by something greater than yourself. The universe, your higher self, your inner guidance, all begin to work in harmony to fill the emotional void not with another person, but with your own wholeness. You become your own source of safety, love, and validation. This is the true essence of healing, realizing that everything you were seeking from someone else already exists within you. Eventually, this healing energy radiates outward. Others notice your lightness, your calm, your strength. You attract relationships, experiences, and opportunities that match your higher frequency. You become more discerning, more intuitive, and more empowered. You no longer tolerate what doesn't honor your energy because you've learned how precious that energy is. Letting go was the turning point, not just a decision to walk away, but a decision to walk toward your higher self. Healing energy is not a quick fix, it's a sacred process. But once it begins to flow, it transforms everything it touches: your heart, your thoughts, your choices, and your future. Spiritually, letting go was not the end. It was the opening, the sacred space where healing energy could finally enter and remind you of the radiant, whole, and worthy being you have always been. When you decide to let someone go, one of the most profound spiritual transformations you can experience is the emergence of inner peace. This peace doesn't arrive instantly. It unfolds gradually, like a soft sunrise after a long, stormy night. Letting someone go, especially someone you once deeply cared for or relied upon emotionally, is not just a physical or mental act. It's a soul-level decision that brings your inner world back into balance. It allows your spirit to exhale, to release tension, to reclaim space that had been clouded with emotional turbulence. Inner peace begins with acceptance. Spiritually, holding on to someone who no longer aligns with your path often creates inner conflict. You may feel torn between your heart and your intuition, between your comfort zone and your growth. This friction stirs anxiety, restlessness, and even self-doubt. But when you finally let go, you release that internal struggle. Or you stop resisting what is and start accepting what needs to be. That act of surrender is powerful. It's not about defeat, but about honoring your soul's need for clarity and calm. In that surrender, space is created, space for silence, reflection, and healing. Spiritually, inner peace cannot be forced or manufactured. It must be invited. Letting go invites peace by removing the energy drain of attachment. Relationships that are misaligned or emotionally imbalanced often pull you out of the present moment. You may find yourself constantly thinking about the past, worrying about the future, or trying to fix things that cannot be fixed. But once you let go, you begin to return to the now. The present moment becomes less painful, more bearable, even beautiful. That presence is where inner peace is born. Letting go also allows you to listen more clearly to your inner voice. Often, in the noise of a complicated relationship, your own truth gets drowned out. You may silence your needs, ignore your intuition, or diminish your worth just to maintain the connection. But when you finally choose to walk away, that inner voice grows louder. You begin to hear yourself again, or you rediscover your values, your desires, your boundaries. This reconnection to your authentic self fosters a quiet strength, and with it comes a deep sense of peace, a knowing that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Spiritually, inner peace is also connected to the release of judgment. When you let someone go, especially if there was pain or betrayal involved, it's easy to carry resentment, anger, or guilt. These emotions, while valid, they create spiritual noise. They block the flow of peace. But as you begin to process and release these emotions, perhaps through meditation, prayer, journaling, or mindful solitude. You make room for forgiveness. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what happened. It means choosing to free yourself from the energetic weight of it. It's in that freedom that peace blossoms. Another key aspect of spiritual inner peace after letting go is the understanding of impermanence. You begin to see that people come into your life for reasons, for seasons, and sometimes only for lessons. Letting go allows you to appreciate the connection for what it was, without clinging to what it should have been. This awareness deepens your spiritual maturity and softens your need to control outcomes. You become more fluid, more trusting in the universe's timing and wisdom, and in that trust, peace naturally flows. Eventually, inner peace becomes your new baseline. You're no longer triggered in the same ways. You stop revisiting old conversations in your mind. You stop wondering, what if? Instead, you live in the what now. You begin to nurture yourself. Emotionally, spiritually, physically. You attract relationships that reflect your new vibration, connections rooted in mutual respect, harmony, and authenticity. But even more importantly, you cultivate a relationship with yourself that is whole, loving, and unshakable. Letting someone go spiritually realigns your entire being. It quiets the noise, calms the storms, and makes space for something more profound than fleeting happiness and peace. And once inner peace settles into your spirit, you begin to glow from within. You become grounded, present, and resilient. Not because life is perfect, but because you've learned to trust yourself, your path, and the wisdom of letting go. Detachment, in the spiritual sense, is one of the most powerful and liberating experiences that unfolds when you decide to let someone go. It does not mean you stop caring or that you erase all memories, emotions, or connections. Instead, detachment is about reclaiming your energy, recentering your soul, and recognizing that true freedom lies in releasing your grip on things and people that are not aligned with your highest good. It's an inner transformation that allows you to love without clinging, to care without controlling, and to grieve without drowning. When you hold on tightly to someone who is no longer meant to walk your path, you entangle your spirit in resistance. This resistance often stems from fear. Fear of loneliness, fear of change, fear of loss. Spiritually, fear contracts your energy, keeps you stuck in cycles of suffering, and clouds your inner clarity. Detachment breaks those cycles. It creates space between you and your emotional reactions. You begin to see things from a higher perspective, not through the lens of pain or attachment, but through the lens of awareness and compassion. Detachment doesn't happen all at once. It begins slowly, often in moments of silence or solitude. When you finally admit to yourself that holding on is hurting more than letting go, there's a quiet knowing that arises, telling you that your soul needs peace more than it needs that person's presence. This awareness is the beginning of spiritual detachment. You start to observe your emotions rather than being consumed by them. You stop trying to change the other person, fix the past, or control the outcome. You simply allow what is to be. As you detach, you also begin to realize that your worth and identity are not tied to another person. Many spiritual attachments are born from the illusion that we need someone to complete us, to validate us, or to give our life meaning. Detachment reveals the truth. You are already whole. You were never missing a piece. You just temporarily forgot your power. When you let someone go and detach with love, you return to yourself. You begin to fill the emotional space with self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-trust. One of the most sacred elements of spiritual detachment is the deep surrender it requires. It's not passive, it's not giving up. It's consciously releasing control. Trusting that if something or someone is meant for you, they will remain or return without force. You stop chasing, you stop begging, and you stop negotiating your boundaries. Instead, you learn to sit with uncertainty, to breathe through discomfort, and to allow life to unfold on its own terms. This is where true spiritual strength is built, in the letting go, not the holding on. Detachment also allows your spiritual energy to rebalance. When you're deeply attached to someone, especially in a toxic or codependent way, your aura can become clouded, heavy, and imbalanced. Your thoughts and emotions may revolve around that person constantly. Letting go frees this energy. You reclaim your mental space, your emotional sovereignty, and your spiritual vitality. You become clearer, lighter, more centered. You begin to see new possibilities, make aligned choices, and reconnect with your intuition. In spiritual terms, detachment doesn't mean disconnection. It means connectedness with everything, not just one person. You start to view life as a flow rather than a possession. You see people as fellow souls on their own journeys, not as objects to hold on to. This shift brings peace. It allows you to bless the relationship for what it was, to learn from it, and to release it with love. You stop needing closure from them because you give it to yourself. You stop seeking validation because you know your own truth. Ultimately, detachment when letting someone go is not about building walls. It's about setting your spirit free. It teaches you that love is not attachment. That peace is more valuable than proving your point. That you don't need someone to stay in order for their presence in your life to have mattered. And once you detach spiritually, you step into a new level of growth, wisdom, and freedom. You rise, not above others, but into your highest self. You're ready to walk forward with grace, clarity, and an open heart. When you decide to let someone go, something profound happens on a spiritual level. Your connection to your higher self begins to awaken and strengthen. The higher self is the deepest, most authentic part of who you are. Your divine essence, the voice of your inner wisdom, the unshakable core that transcends the ego, fear, and emotional attachments. In the pain and release of letting someone go, the layers that have kept you distant from this part of yourself begin to peel away, revealing clarity, peace, and truth. Letting someone go often brings an emotional storm: grief, confusion, anger, nostalgia. These emotions come from the ego's perspective, which clings to comfort, the familiarity, and control. But the higher self sees beyond the surface. It understands that every relationship, no matter how painful or beautiful, has a purpose in your soul's evolution. When you release someone from your life, especially someone who no longer aligns with your growth, you begin to operate from this deeper awareness. You start shifting from a survival mindset to a spiritual one. From, why is this happening to me? To, what is this teaching me? The higher self doesn't judge. It doesn't view letting go as failure or loss, but rather as an act of love. Love for the self, love for the other, and love for the divine unfolding of life. When you listen to this inner guidance, you realize that holding on often comes from fear. Fear of being alone, fear of not being enough, fear of change. The higher self gently encourages you to walk through these fears, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary for your growth. In the space that letting go creates, your higher self can speak more clearly. You may begin to hear intuitive messages, experience moments of deep insight, or feel a subtle sense of peace even amid pain. These are signs that your soul is realigning. You are no longer operating purely from your emotional wounds or unmet expectations. You are now tuning into divine wisdom. This connection doesn't make you immune to sadness, but it gives your sadness a purpose. You start seeing your healing journey not as something to get through, but as something sacred. Letting go also allows you to shed the illusions that often come with attachment. Sometimes we project fantasies, hopes, or identities onto people, believing they complete us or define us. Your higher self knows that your completeness was never dependent on another. By releasing someone, you reclaim your power, your energy, and your truth. You stop looking outside for what has always lived within you. That's the moment you begin to remember who you are beyond roles, labels, and relationships. This reconnection with your higher self also brings a new level of discernment. You become more aware of what aligns with your soul and what doesn't. You start making choices that come from intuition, not insecurity. You realize that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the courage to honor inner truth, even when your heart still cares. And it's the grace to bless someone on their journey, while fully committing to your own. Over time, this spiritual transformation becomes your foundation. The more you trust your higher self, the less you chase validation. The more you listen to it, the more peaceful you become. Letting someone go no longer feels like an ending. It becomes a return to wholeness, a return to authenticity, a return to the divine being that you are. Ultimately, when you decide to let someone go, your higher self rises to guide you forward, not with force, but with light. It reminds you that love never means losing yourself, that healing is not forgetting, it's remembering your strength. and that every goodbye that honors your truth is a sacred step toward becoming who you were always meant to be. When you decide to let someone go, you step into one of the most profound opportunities for soul growth. This act, often born from heartbreak realization, or the quiet recognition that a connection no longer serves your highest good, marks a spiritual turning point. Soul growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in moments of surrender, in the decision to release what is no longer aligned, even when your heart wants to hold on. Letting someone go is not just about removing them from your physical life. It's a deep spiritual process that invites you to re-examine your inner landscape. It forces you to confront your attachments, expectations, fears, and illusions. In doing so, you awaken parts of yourself that have been dormant. And this awakening is the essence of soul growth. It requires you to sit in discomfort, to embrace uncertainty, and to face the grief that often follows such a decision. But it is in this discomfort that transformation begins. Spiritually, the soul is always seeking alignment with truth. When you stay in relationships out of fear, habit, or emotional dependence, you often silence your inner knowing. But when you finally decide to let go, you are choosing truth over illusion. You are choosing growth over stagnation. That moment of choice becomes a catalyst for a deeper journey inward, a journey of rediscovery and expansion. As you let go, layers of ego begin to dissolve. You realize that your identity was never meant to be defined by another person. The roles you played, whether as a partner, a savior, or someone clinging to love, start to fall away. In their place, your authentic self begins to emerge. This shedding is painful but necessary. It makes space for a deeper connection with your higher consciousness, with the essence of who you truly are beyond emotional entanglements. Soul growth also involves healing old wounds. Often, the people we struggle to go of are reflections of unresolved pain, abandonment issues, unworthiness, or fear of being alone. When you release them, you're not just letting go of a person, but of the pattern they represent. This conscious release invites healing at the soul level. It allows you to reclaim the parts of yourself you may have given away. Your energy, your peace, your voice. In this spiritual process, you begin to learn sacred lessons: patience, compassion, forgiveness, and most importantly, self-love. You start to see that your journey is your own, and that your soul chose certain experiences not to break you, but to build you. The more you reflect on the relationship and its ending, the more clarity you gain about your own needs, boundaries, and desires. You begin to understand the role that person played in your evolution, and with that understanding comes peace. Letting go also opens you to new energies. As you release the old, you make room for new people, new opportunities, and new levels of consciousness. Your vibration shifts. You stop attracting relationships rooted in lack or fear, and begin drawing in those aligned with love, respect, and authenticity. This is the natural result of soul growth. Your external reality starts to reflect your internal transformation. With time, you may even feel gratitude for the experience. Not because it was easy, but it was necessary. You realize that every ending holds a hidden blessing. That pain is a powerful teacher. And that love, real love, starts with yourself. Your soul expands not through avoidance, but through the courage to face what must be released. Ultimately, soul growth is about remembering your divine essence. Letting someone go is a sacred step on that path. It is not the end of love, but a redirection of it. Back to you, back to your truth, and back to the infinite wisdom of your soul. When you decide to let someone go, you initiate a powerful shift in your energetic alignment. Energetic alignment is the state in which your thoughts, emotions, actions, and spiritual frequency resonate with your highest self. Holding on to relationships that no longer serve you, no matter how much you care, can create emotional and energetic dissonance. And letting go is not simply an act of separation, it's a spiritual recalibration, a return to inner harmony. Every relationship carries energy. When you are deeply connected to someone, your energy fields begin to intertwine. This energetic bond can nourish you or drain you, depending on the health of the connection. If the relationship is based on fear, dependency, or unresolved trauma, it begins to disrupt your natural energy flow. You might feel anxious, stuck, fatigued, or emotionally off balance. These are signs that you're out of alignment with your true self. The decision to let go is often your soul's way of guiding you back into balance. Letting someone go clears energetic blockages that have been silently building. When you continue to hold space for a connection that has run its course, you occupy emotional bandwidth that could be used for your growth and evolution. The lingering thoughts, the constant emotional processing, the looping of memories, these all keep your energy tethered to the past. The act of release breaks these cords. It's not about severing with bitterness, it's about consciously choosing freedom and restoring your flow. Energetic alignment is also about truth. When you are misaligned, you may find yourself compromising your values, ignoring your intuition, or suppressing your needs just to maintain a connection. You distort your energy to accommodate someone else, but the soul can only tolerate dissonance for so long. Eventually, the internal conflict becomes too loud to ignore. In choosing to let go, you're choosing truth over illusion, clarity over confusion, and alignment over attachment. Spiritually, this process raises your vibration. As you remove energies that are no longer resonant with your path, your entire field begins to shift. You may notice a newfound lightness, more clarity in thought, and deeper emotional stability. Your heart may ache at first, but beneath the pain, you begin to feel spaciousness, a clearing that invites healing, peace, and transformation. You return to your center. This alignment doesn't only affect you emotionally, it influences what you attract into your life. Energetically aligned people begin to draw on experiences and relationships that reflect their growth. If you stop repeating cycles and start stepping into connections that support your truth, that's the beauty of energetic realignment. It's a doorway to a more authentic life. The external changes not because of luck or chance, but because you've done the internal work. Letting go also strengthens your intuitive connection. When you no longer have someone else's energy clouding your field, you can hear your inner voice more clearly. Your decisions come from a place of knowing, not fear. You begin to trust your own rhythm again. You become more attuned to your spiritual path and the subtle guidance of the universe. This is not just emotional release. It's energetic sovereignty. Ultimately, energetic alignment after letting someone go is about coming home to yourself. It's recognizing that love is not meant to deplete you, that your peace is not negotiable, that your growth sometimes requires hard choices. And in making those choices, you remember who you are beneath the emotional noise, a radiant being worthy of love, aligned with truth and powerful in your ability to heal, evolve, and rise. Letting go is not the end. It is a realignment with your soul's purpose. And in that sacred act, you reclaim your energy, your voice, your direction, and most importantly, your light.